No Tim?
Mm-mm.
Something like that?
I think that's what he implied, yes.
I'm okay with that.
It's 6:30, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Thank you all for coming this evening. First item on our agenda is review and approval of the minutes from the prior meeting. If anybody has any corrections or additions, if they would be kind enough to share them, please. Otherwise, I'd look for a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes.
A motion to approve, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? We'll take care of our minutes. Two public hearings tonight, both are conditional use permits for a fence. The first is for the Thingelstad property.
Yes, this is at 1103 Parkview Avenue Northwest. I've got the fence plan pulled up here on the screen. It's a bit sideways, but that's okay. So we're proposing to just put in a 4-foot black chain link fence, just kind of connecting to an existing fence in the back there. So for this one, just recommending access agreements for the two neighbors on the sides, and then an acknowledgement of the 5-foot easement along the rear property line that the new fence would go into partially. Any questions?
Thank you, sir. If there's not any questions, I will go ahead and open up the public hearing. If anyone has anything they would like to share on the conditional use permit, if they'd be kind enough to come up. No, sir? Thank you. I will go ahead and close the public hearing. Seems to be a pretty straightforward pursuit, gentlemen, unless anybody has any questions or comments.
I'm just curious, you know, you say it's buttoned up to the one property on the back, you know, existing fence. So you don't, I suppose because he's not putting it on the property line, it's already there, he doesn't need the agreement with that?
With this neighbor, no, just the side ones, because, it's only like perpendicular right here, so we figured that the property owner could maintain both sides of the fence, without having to go on this property back there.
Out of curiosity, is the existing fence got a CUP with this?
Yeah, they did get approved for a
So there's already-
CUP, but we're still working on getting all of the access agreements back from the neighbors.
Okay.
Is it recent, or has it been going on for a while, Ian?
This fence, this was one from this year, so it's still pretty new.
Well, obviously, he should be able to get it from the one neighbor, being he wants to hook to it. Excuse me.
Seems pretty straightforward to me.
Yeah.
As long as he gets access agreements before he builds.
If there's nothing else, I'd look for a motion, please.
I'd make the motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That would be our recommendation to the city council on the Thingelstad conditional use permit.
Thank you.
Second one is for the Campbell property, sir.
All right, so this one is at 1002 7th Ave Northwest. This one is also a 4-foot black chain link fence. This one is intended to match this neighbor's fence to the back here, so pretty much just going out from the side of the house to this property line over here, which is bordered with public right-of-way, and then another fence up here along this property line. So for this one, just one access agreement with this neighbor up here, and then there's a couple of easements on this one. There's a 5-foot easement along the east property line, and then a 10-foot one along this south property line. So just the acknowledgement of those two easements.
Thank you, Ian. Any questions for Ian?
So the current one that he's buttoned up next to, has that been a CUP one also?
No, this one is not a CUP one.
It was before?
Yeah, to my knowledge, yeah. Check on that, yeah.
Nothing else?
Pretty straightforward.
Go ahead and open up the public hearing for this one as well. Thank you, sir. If you have nothing to add, we'll also close the public hearing. Gentlemen, once again, it does appear the process is working. If someone would like to make a motion, please.
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Would be our recommendation on the Campbell conditional use permit.
Thank you.
And last item on the agenda, discussion of 154-312 fences and walls.
All right, so part two of our discussions from last time. So basically, I've got the same things in your packets tonight. The existing fence ordinance, and then the proposed new ordinance, and then the permit, and a couple of supplement items. So just starting with the revised ordinance, I'll just go through all of the little things that I switched out, considering your comments from last time. So first of all, in the language for the definitions of interior and perimeter fences, I changed it so now it says at or near a perpendicular angle rather than just perpendicular, or at or near a parallel angle rather than just parallel, just so there's a little bit of allowance in there, so it doesn't have to be perfectly perpendicular or parallel for those ones. Let's see, Section B, General Standards, I split out 7 and 8 into separate bullet points, and then just reworded it a bit, so I put the which yard it applies to at the front of each sentence. Let's see. And then Section E, Part 2, removed the word kind of towards the middle there. It would have said like an easement is required as part of the agreement, but now it just says an agreement to permit encroachment instead. So basically just removed the word easement from that language, and then I carried that through on the draft permit application and the draft neighbor agreement as well. Let's see. And then finally, at the very back part, there was some questions in Section G, non-conforming fences, about the interpretation of the word improvement. And so with that one, I did a little bit of research, and that can be anything from upgrading materials, like going from like a wood fence to a vinyl fence, so it's more durable. It can be like an aesthetic upgrade, like painting or staining, or it can be reinforcing, like putting in supports or hardware to make your fence stronger. And then just one final thing, I know there was a point about encouraging people to get legal advice when it comes to the agreements, and that was something that I wanted to put into the supplement A fact sheet, which I have yet to actually draft, but that's where I'm intending to put it going forward. Let's see. So yeah, that's pretty much what I've got there with what I've changed since last time. Does anyone have any comments about any of the things? I think it reflected your comments pretty well from last time. If anything got left out.
Yeah, I guess I'd like to hear what you guys think about that, your clarification on the improvement, because replacing a wood fence with a vinyl fence, that's a fence that's already in non-conformance, is that something that we want to allow without them bringing it into conformance? Because that's essentially tearing down a fence and putting up a new fence, it sounds like. I mean, changing from wood to vinyl.
Yeah.
And so, according to this, we're going to say that's allowed.
Yep.
So,
and that,
I think that should be allowed.
I believe it actually comes from state statute regarding non-conformities. So it says, like, if you have like a pre-existing structure that was conforming at the time of that ordinance, and then you change the ordinance, but you can actually go back and replace it now, even if,
I think painting a fence is different than replacing a wood fence with a vinyl fence,
right.
right? So if that's what we're considering an improvement, I know that's probably a bit much for me, but...
Well, I know in past, like if somebody had an existing structure on a property line that was, and then now with the new rules, they could replace that wall, as long as they didn't change the blueprint of the...
Including the foundation, or does the foundation have to stay?
The foundation had to stay, they had to stay on that.
Yeah.
So like this, if they don't take the post out there, all they're changing is the slats, they're not changing the location of the fence. The fence is still on.
Right, so if they left the posts, but that means they have wood posts and then a vinyl fence.
Well, but you could put the vinyl over the post, as long
Sure.
as you ain't changing the post. So that'd be kinda similar to, you know,
Okay. So we think that's okay?
I mean, that's
What-
of my opinion. but-
What if somebody was going through that process and the neighbor complained about it, and it was a non-conforming fence, like, we just wouldn't have any recourse, right? Because the whole point of these property line fences is to try and get the neighbors to have an agreement to allow this kind of stuff.
Yeah. I could see if I can get some more clarification on exactly what all of this means in relation to the state statute, because, you know, of course we want to make sure that we're in compliance with state statute,
Yeah.
but there must be some
Yeah.
sort of room for interpretation at the local level.
Yeah, and maybe on your fact sheet, you can
Yeah.
clarify what's allowed
And not
on non-conforming fences, right? If they pull the posts and everything out, they're putting in a new fence at that point.
Yes.
That's not an improvement. I mean, it is an
What is
improvement
it, replacement?
generally, but not an improvement in existing, yeah, that's
But
what...
replacements are allowed too.
What if Mother Nature removes it for you? And it's not applicable to this
Mhm.
because I'm more than 3 foot off the property line, but Mother Nature took out a 3 foot, 4 foot, 4-panel section of a fence in my yard. I haven't replaced it yet, and even if I did, I'm 4 feet off the property line anyway. If I go in and replace my vinyl fence with a wood fence, is that a restoration? Is that an improvement, or is that a downgrade?
Yes.
It's an improvement.
It could be one of those things that beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and we could be
Right.
chasing the definition
Sure.
on some of these things.
Yeah, 'cause I mean, as soon as you replace a section, it could look
Yeah.
totally different than the rest because of time,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, in this will, in this case.
Yeah,
There's
so-
no way for me to,
You'll never match it, so, you know, yeah. And you were in, you know, if it was on the property line at the time, you were in compliance, and you're not, it didn't, you know.
yeah.
Yeah, it's tough.
And maybe you had an old fence that everybody was okay with, but now based, you know, on cost, maybe somebody can't afford to put in what they had, and now they have an eyesore.
Yeah, now you have an open section.
Yeah.
You could leave.
Or that, yeah.
I mean, besides the word improvement, are there any other words in there that are points of concern? Repair, replace, restoration, maintenance?
Just have to determine how you wanna classify it, yeah.
Yeah.
Good question.
Okay, good.
Any other comments or questions? I assume we don't need to vote on this at this stage in the game. This has got to go through the public hearing process.
Yeah, so if you wanted to call for a public, or recommend calling for a public hearing, you could do that if you wanted to.
Want me to do that through a vote, sir?
Yeah.
Look for a motion to push this forward to a public hearing.
Just to clarify, are we doing this, all three of these drafts as a group, or are we doing them individually?
I think we'd have to do the fence ordinance as one, and then the fence permit application in this.
Well, I think the other two would have to require the ordinance to be done, yeah.
But you still have to go through the public hearings of all three. You'd have to have three public hearings, right, at the same time? Or could you do it in one, Linda?
No, I think you can do them in one.
Okay.
I mean, we change forms all the time without going through a public hearing because they're really not technically part of the ordinance.
Okay.
I mean, we change building permit forms and all that kind of stuff all the time to keep updated with laws,
Okay.
and it doesn't go through an ordinance change. So we would just want the permit application and the other form approved by the attorney.
Okay, so, fence ordinance, do we have a motion?
Not yet.
Nope. I'll make the motion to send that to, public hearing, I guess.
We have a motion to move forward with the public hearing. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That would be our recommendation on next steps with our fence and wall discussion, or fence and wall, process. All right. And I guess before we call this a meeting, Mr. Norrie continues to seem to be struggling. Is there a discussion that we need to have about offering him a path forward, or what needs to happen for him to go forward, or do we continue to allow him to stay on the course he's on?
I thought his path forward was, according to the CP, get an agreement from his neighbors or move his fence in.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know, I mean, we're looking at changing the ordinance, but it might change from 3 feet to 2 feet.
Yeah.
Because you still have to be able to maintain it on your own side.
Well, and I don't know where the lines are, and I may be crossing one. It's really up for him to sit down with his neighbors and figure it out, but he seems to be struggling to do that. And he has spent a lot of time and energy and effort redirecting his frustrations towards City Hall than necessarily sitting down and breaking bread with his neighbors. Well, I thought I would just throw it out there, and if there were thoughts or there were ideas on something we could do to help the guy out, we could have that discussion. If not, I can understand we've treated him like we've treated any other individual that's walked in the door. So.
I mean, I'm still of the opinion that I'd like to see us have an alternative path that could potentially be taken without having the access agreements. I don't want to hold back all the great updates that I think we have in this fence ordinance to do that.
Well, we do have a path that stay 2 feet in off property line.
Right, right, obviously he doesn't consider that acceptable, right, and...
Well, I agree. I mean, not everybody's gonna agree. I mean, we could go back to the old days, honestly, where it was, or we could change it to, like some cities, where you cannot have it on your property line at all. That, and you'd not even allow it with a CUP or anything. You can actually, the city has the power, the authority to say it has to be 2 feet in or 3 feet in, but do we want to go to that route?
Yeah, I don't disagree that we have the authority to do that, I just, is that the right thing to do?
No, but I'm just
Right,
saying,
so-
but in the
It
grand
depends who you
scheme-
ask. If you ask Mr. Norrie, the answer is no. You
Right.
ask all of his neighbors, and they're gonna sit and say, yeah, that is the right thing.
Well, maybe, yeah.
Well, hang on. Have you spoken to Mr. Norrie's neighbors?
The one gentleman that was here at the last meeting,
Mr. Berg?
Gary Berg.
yeah, he brought me a piece of paper with his idea of a way that they could resolve the dispute, and he said he was gonna bring it to a council meeting, so maybe he'll show up on Wednesday, I don't know.
Sure.
To give his ideas, and when I talked to him, it didn't sound like his issue was so much with the fence existing. See, he didn't want to give Mr. Norrie access to his property whatsoever, which, you know,
I get it.
I could understand that, right?
Your
So,
property.
but like I said, until we could have a potential alternative path, I don't wanna hold what we've done so far, because I think we're making some good adjustments, especially, it looks like our fees for the permits have dropped considerably. Is that right, Ian?
Mm-hmm.
So, I wanted to ask, like, the cost for a permit with 3 neighbors is gonna be what now? Looks like $100 plus
46 times 3.
46 times 3?
250 minus 12.
Right, and what is it currently for the
38.
CUP process?
Well, the CUP application is $300 to start, and then on top of that, it's all of the recording fees. $46 each.
And that's all because of the publication cost.
Right, so everything we're doing is already cutting the cost in half, and presumably making it faster, because they won't need to come through us for every single one of these, right?
Yep, absolutely.
So, I don't wanna slow that down for Mr. Norrie, but I still would like to look into, and I hope, I'm terrible with names, I hope the neighbor that was here the last time brings forward his thoughts on the matter.
Sure.
And we can discuss that, but,
I just wanted to say, there is a chapter in our code, 154.146, for non-conforming uses, where it does state that if 50% or more is damaged, you have to bring it into compliance. So if you had a garage on the property line, and tornado came through, knocked most of it over, so you can't rebuild, you'd have to move it in.
Oh,
okay. So that would apply to the fences and then what you were saying about the
Yeah.
Well, it
buildings?
says structures.
Structure,
So
so
now
it
we're
should be...
fence is a
considering a
structure.
fence a structure, because now we're making them get a permit.
yeah.
Was there a set of circumstances, though, down on Main Street where somebody's garage was right on the property line and they couldn't move it?
Yes. And it was,
I don't remember it that well, forgive me.
yeah, and they...
Sounds
and they
like a
went-
variance
They
consideration.
went through and asked for a variance.
Okay.
And it, as long as it stayed on the current foundation is what...
Yeah, thank you.
That's why I remember that one,
Yeah.
was because that was something that was approved. But, you know, just like everything is gonna be, it's not straight cut, you know,
Sure.
for, I mean...
Not
there's-
everything's black and white.
Yeah, you're gonna have variables that you have to look at.
Well, I guess my 2 cents on the whole thing, I mean, building in, and this is a poor choice of words, some sort of loophole for a Mr. Norrie type of personality to take advantage of doesn't really strike me as a good way to move forward with any ordinance. But if there's things we can do to help the guy out and encourage the conversation and move things towards a resolution, that strikes me as a much saner approach, assuming the city council is agreeable with that mindset. And just kind of be transparent about what we're doing, what we're trying to do. If there's nothing else, I'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Tremendous. Thank you all again.